What up, everybody? This is your boy Dedrian from House of Wrestling, and this is my review for the December 16th episode of AEW Rampage. Like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notifications so that you're notified when the House of Wrestling drops its latest content. Follow me, Dedrian180, on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. So, tonight's AEW Rampage. This was a very interesting and entertaining Rampage. Could there have been a few things they tweaked? Yeah, that's any wrestling show that you could find things to tweak and stuff like that. But for me, this was one of the few Rampages that was very complimentary to the Dynamite that happened on Wednesday, but also a few elements of what happened on Dynamite kind of seeped into Rampage. And this was, like I said on other reviews, man, I enjoy covering wrestling on Fridays because you get SmackDown and then you get Rampage. They're two totally different brands, totally different presentations, and there's a lot going on both, and it's freaking fun to cover. But man, tonight's AEW Rampage, the main event, freaking hilarious towards the end of that match. I enjoyed it. It was entertaining. The opening match, I was surprised at how physical and aggressive and gritty it got. Like, that surprised me. But man, overall, this was a fun episode, man. This was a nice episode if you are in a city which is probably most of the United States right now, because it's winter and it's snowing in some locations. Here in Chicago, it's snowing. So, I mean, if you were staying home and you didn't attend SmackDown, which is in Chicago, and you stayed home, this was a perfect 1-2 punch. Hey, I watched SmackDown. Man, I got Rampage. All right. Ooh, all right. Man, this is cool. And a lot of match announcements happened and everything. So, overall, like I said, man, I enjoyed this show. Let's get into these results. So, the opening match, whew, boy. Jon Moxley defeated Sammy Guevara. Then we had Britt Baker defeat Sky Blue. We had Wardlow. I don't think it was a match. Like, that was more of a practice. Like, he defeated Exodus Prime, and then in the main event, which was a 8-man tag, you had Orange Cassidy, the Best Friends, and Dustin Rhodes. They defeated Kip Sabian, Trent Seven, Butcher, and the Blade. So that is the results for AEW Rampage for December 16th. Man, the first match, whew, boy. Word got out, and mind you, this was already taped after Dynamite this Wednesday, so word got out like, yo, Moxley, Renee Paquette, his wife, or Jon Moxley's wife, he's like, yeah, he kind of lost his ear. And for me, I was like, ooh, all right, let me see what happens. Like, I don't want to see it, but I just want to see how things unfold to get to that point. But man, this was a physical match. What I took away from this match, one, Moxley's going to be Moxley. He's always going to have blood in his match. But Sammy Guevara, like, he rarely used any high-flying moves. It was very strategic how he used them, but he was very physical, aggressive, violent. Just really, this was a side of Sammy I haven't seen in a long time, if ever, in AEW, and it really added to the match. One thing I can't say, there was a certain part early in the match where him and Ty Conti, they're making out and Moxley dives on him. But for the most part, he really didn't fully express that cocky, arrogant, taunting side. Like, he mean business. Like, halfway through the match, like towards the end, it's like, man, this guy really wants to like beat up Jon Moxley. Like, man, like, whew, boy. But man, you had the match start. You had Sammy sucks chants. Then, of course, as I mentioned, there was a point in the match where Sammy Guevara, and mind you, this happened. This was actually a really cool spot that they did during picture-in-picture, which they've actually gotten a little bit better with that picture-in-picture when things happen. So as picture in picture is happening, you see Sammy, you see him like picking at Moxley's earring, and he's just with his fingers, and then you just see him biting, and it was like he tore it off or like he scratched him or something like that. And of course, as the match went on, like he just had blood on his, I believe it was his left shoulder. Yeah, Moxley had blood on his left shoulder and coming down from his ear. Now, it looked really bad, but if any of you know that when you suffer any cuts around the face or head area, like it's gonna bleed profusely, saying that the reason why is because you got all this blood flowing and stuff like that. But man, this was a wild match. Moxley, Sammy, they fought outside later in the match. Sammy put him on the table. Sammy goes on the top turnbuckle. He does a senton through the table, which I'm like, man, this is nuts. By that time, I'm thinking, okay, this match is going to go maybe a minute, 2 minutes, and that's it. No, this match went on a little bit longer. You had a crossbody by Sammy, which Moxley turned it into a signature stomp to the head, which led to a pile driver, which he kicked out. And then he turned that into a bulldog choke, which was freaking crazy. You had Moxley do a Texas lariat. Then, a few moments later, Sammy got the advantage by doing the Death Rider. He wound up doing a senton bomb, which Moxley kicked out. Executed a Spanish fly, which I'm surprised Jon Moxley did that, but he executed a Spanish fly, which Moxley countered into a bulldog choke. And Sammy tapped, and Moxley got the win. Like, that ending sequence of that match was, like, go back and watch it. Like, I have never seen someone do a counter to what's primarily a finishing move and a really heavy hitting move that leads to a finishing move, and Moxley countered it, and like, whoa, that was good. Like, that was probably one of Sammy Guevara's best matches of the year, and it's crazy to think that it's one of his best matches because in the beginning of the year, he had his infamous ladder match with Cody Rhodes, who eventually went to the WWE. But man, this was a really solid match. I liked this. It was fun. Afterwards, Jon Moxley gets the mic, calls out Hangman Page. Him and Hangman Page start brawling. And mind you, this is something that carried over from Dynamite, as I mentioned, because, man, Hangman Page gave a freaking crazy promo. That guy gave a good promo on Dynamite, mentioning that he had all these the effects of the concussion. He was remembering everything, and then it came to the picture of his child, and he couldn't remember the name, and it really hurt him, and he was going to take Moxley to, that hell that he experienced. So carried over, really like that. So they're brawling, and then, cowboy shit chants start happening, and then Hangman eventually he does the buckshot lariat to a security guard. They start brawling through the crowd. Security separates them, so you got Moxley being carried away by security to the back, and you got Hangman Page at ringside with security. I really like this feud. Like I said on my Dynamite review this week, that I do see Jon Moxley and Hangman Page having pretty much a Falls Count Anywhere match, more than likely at Revolution. It could be at a Dynamite. Yeah, I could see that, but I do see it at Revolution in February. So it's an interesting feud. It's a feud grounded in stuff that makes sense because Moxley, executed a move, and it was a match where Hangman Page suffered a concussion. So they're playing on that and everything, and it's just like, ooh, okay, this is a reason why Hangman Page is going after Moxley, because he injured him to the point where he couldn't remember his child's name because of the concussion he suffered. And he wants retribution. No pun intended. Ooh, that's interesting. That's storytelling. Gee. From there, we get a video package of Saraya. Ooh, boy. The rumors circulating that match in Los Angeles. And I like this video package. And shout out to AEW. They've been doing some really good work with their vignettes and their video packages. Really, like, really good recaps. So they recap uh, last week how Britt Baker said, "Hey, I gave you tickets to the forum, and if you want, you could come, or me and Jamie Hayter are gonna have a match with you, and you select your partner." And the key line that Saraya said in this video package, which it wasn't long or anything, and she said, I quote, "I have a plethora of talent to choose from, and we're coming for you." Ooh. So I know when that vignette aired, and it's probably gonna be on social media and everything, I know the whole speculation is gonna be like, okay, so who is coming with Saraya? So that's where we're at the stages. And of course, if you've been living under a rock and haven't seen it, the rumor is that many people believe that the mystery partner for Saraya is going to be Sasha Banks, who I believe she's going by Mercedes Monet, which is one of the names she's trademarked. We'll see when whatever happens with her at Wrestle Kingdom and stuff like that. But that is the strong rumor. Again, a lot of people have been putting two and two together. Why would you announce a tag team match of a mystery partner a month in advance? If it was anybody else on the roster, you would already selected the opponent or the partner for Saraya, but it's a month in advance. It's the second Dynamite of January. It's in Los Angeles. It's in the Forum. There's a big show. You put two and two together. It's like, okay, so who's the mystery partner for Saraya? Like, ooh, man, this is going to be interesting. From there, we get a promo, an in-ring promo from FTR. Cash Wheeler's like, man, all year you guys lifted us up. This has been the best year of my life. Thank you. They talk about, the Gun Club and them attacking them on Saturday at Final Battle. And then, just the stuff that they've encountered. And Dax Hart was like, you dumbasses aren't ruining our legacy. Then he brings up his daughter, and she's like, man, why do people like you? And he touches on it. He's like, man, I wonder why people like us. And he goes into this, we're going to whoop your ass this Wednesday on Dynamite. So, yes, this Dynamite, you're going to get FTR and the Gun Club. Whoo, boy, that's going to be a really good match. And low-key, the Gun Club are somewhat a very underrated young tag team that has a ton of potential. And man, they are so identical to how their dad was when he was with the Smoking Guns, and then when he got out of that for a little bit. But Billy Gunn was always a solid wrestler, and you could see that with them. So man, I'm really looking forward to this match and how this plays out. And man, is FTR going to pull out the win, or is the Gun Club going to do some sneaky stuff and get the W? Then we get a video package of Jade Cargill with Red Velvet and Layla Gray. And ooh, man, I like this vignette. Me personally, I thought this vignette was a little bit too quick, but what I liked, it addressed Red Velvet looking at Jade Cargill, kind of like looking at it and rolling her eyes at Jade Cargill. And what was interesting was that Layla Gray pulled out her phone and showed the video, and Jade Cargill looks at Red Velvet, like, what is this? Like, you got some hate? Like, if, just like, you got something? What? You could be kicked to the curb too. And Layla Gray is just, in the video, she's just really trying to impress and just, yeah, okay, let me fix your hair, and this is it. It's like, So it's like, are we going to get a split where Red Velvet is going to go against Jade Cargill? Or is this a strategy where it's Layla Gray and Red Velvet in cahoots, where they want to take the title from Jade Cargill and they're going to turn on her? Like, ooh, that's interesting. So I really like that vignette. I do wish it was kind of difficult to hear what Jade Cargill said as far as referring to Bow Wow. And like, it was really weird. Like, they brought up Bow Wow. I was like, why would they, like, he wasn't there? Like, all right, it is what it is. So we'll see where that leads with Jade Cargill, the baddies, and Bow Wow, and where that goes. But the women's division overall, like, man, it is done a complete 180 compared to where it was 6 months ago. Like, there is a lot of rotating storylines and involvement, and what I like about it, you want to get invested in it because it's like some really good stuff, and it's like, hey, they're like, man, this is good. And then on top of that, you got the whole who is Soraya's mystery partner at the January 11th Dynamite. So I really like that, and I like this video package. Again, my only gripe with it was I felt it was a little bit too short, and the ending when they showed a little video clip of Bow Wow, it was like, man, what did Jade Cargill say? Like, what was it? So that's the only thing I had. Then we go into Britt Baker versus Sky Blue. Man, this was, I don't know if it was, I don't know what it was, man. I felt this match could have had a little bit more aggression in it and more grit. The past couple times that Sky Blue has wrestled, like, it was just like, oh man, she's okay, all right. And this, it was kind of like, I don't know, it was just really weird, man. I was really, I guess it was me expecting more out of this match, considering what's happened with Sky Blue in the last couple of matches. And it's like, all right, okay. I mean, Britt Baker pretty much dominated this match. She did a double underhook at a certain point in the match, and then Sky Blue got the advantage, and she wound up doing the running knee strike, which, she attempted to do her, man, was it the pop-up, the back, like it's the, I forgot what it's called. It's, for me, it's like a reverse or an inverted, a backwards Canadian Destroyer. There you go. Yeah, there you go. Backwards Canadian Destroyer. But I mean, that eventually, when she missed that, it led to Britt Baker doing the stomp 1, 2, 3. So she finished. But the highlight of this match was what happened afterwards. So you had Britt Baker. She gets the glove. She goes to put the lockjaw on, and then music hits. It's Hikaru Shida. She comes out with a kendo stick. She hits Rebel. She hits Britt Baker. She goes to hit Jamie Hayter, but Jamie Hayter moves, and then you get this face-off between Hayter and Shida. They're wrestling this Wednesday on Dynamite. I'm looking forward to that match. It does feel like that we're going to get a very physical Shida. We only got that, I believe, one time when she fought Rio at All Out. But man, Jamie Hayter's a very physical wrestler, aggressive wrestler. Shida's a very aggressive wrestler. So man, I believe that match is going to surprise a lot of people. That's going to be a really good match. And like I said, I like the momentum that the women's division in AEW has right now, and it's building momentum. It just doesn't have momentum. It's building it. And man, think about next year. You're going to get Chris Statlander back. You're going to get Layla Hirsch back. We're going to see who else possibly joins the AEW women's roster. So there's a lot of things going on. You still got Athena as the ROH champ, but of course that whole thing is probably going to still have some crossing over. But AEW's women's division is shaping up to be a very exciting, entertaining women's division with a lot of depth and substance to their presentation, which going to make people interested in. Again, if it is Sasha Banks, aka Mercedes, that is Soraya's mystery partner at the January 11th Rampage or Dynamite, that division is going to go to another level, because you can't just keep doing what you're doing and bring in someone like Sasha Banks. Like, no. Once you bring in someone like Sasha Banks, like, now it's just like, things are going to get elevated. So, I don't know. Maybe we might get 2 women's matches on Dynamite, and then that could happen. So, from there, we get the video package of Preston Vance, and this is really, I got to go back and watch this, because excuse me, guys. It was really interesting way it kicked off, because there wasn't no transition into it. They just went right into the video. And Jim Ross is talking, and he asked Jim Ross, "Hey, who's your boss?" He's like, "Well, Tony Khan." He's like, "Yeah, my boss is." Excuse me, guys. So he's like, "My boss is um, Roosh and Jose the assistant." He mentions that I was handpicked by Brody, and then Jim Ross brings up, "Hey, you really affected, -1, and they brings up the history and everything, and man, Preston Vance, like, he turned into a very snot-nosed, bratty kid, and he needs to grow up." It was like, whoa. Now, I know some people might be, "Oh, that's cruel. Why would they do that?" And, "Oh, that's low blow," and all that stuff. We also got to remember that -1 does have a contract with AEW. So this is one of those storylines that's eventually going to be that's going to lead into a storyline years from now when -1 is of age, and when he turns 18, 19 years old and he becomes a wrestler. Like, that's going to be that storyline. So this is planting the seeds. Me personally, I don't have an issue with it because I know that um, you know any verbiage like this has to be run through uh, his mom, and they're not just gonna say stuff just to say it, and like, "Oh, I didn't say it," I don't have to talk to you. Like, there's certain things that they run by through them, so I know they more than likely have done that. So I'm like, if they're okay with it, it is what it is. Then we get Wardlow versus Exodus Prime. Was, like I said, it wasn't necessarily a match. So you got Exodus Prime. He excuse me, guys. So you have Exodus Prime. Oh crap! I spilled water on my. All right, whatever. So Exodus Prime, he throws a few strikes, and then he throws a headbutt, and he shakes his head, and he walks away. And then Wardlow does his signature headbutt, which led to a freaking lariat, which led to the Symphony of Power Bombs, which was a total of 4, and the pin. That was the match. That was it. I like that they're keeping Wardlow strong. I do think that his momentum has kind of like regressed a little, where he needs that feud to get him hot again. Of course, he's facing Samoa Joe, so I mean, they still haven't gotten into any interaction, but I do think once they have that match, I feel that that's going to be a match that's going to get him that momentum that he had before. But man, after the match, Wardlow calls out Samoa Joe. He's up on the screen, and he's like, "I'm the king, and I'll grant you clemency to speak to me." Like, he's using all this verbiage that's just like, yo, like, I hope we get more of Samoa Joe on the mic, because man, this is gonna be gold. So he tells him, "I set the conditions, and you're gonna face me on the December 28th episode of Dynamite," and keeps saying some stuff, and then he tells him, finishes this, "The king has spoken," and walked away. Oh man, like I said, man, if we get Samoa Joe, the heel Samoa Joe that was in TNA and even in NXT and the main roster WWE, and you allow him to speak, man, that's gold. You already got MJF. You already got Moxley and Hangman. Like, AEW has been known for having great talkers, and you add him into that, oh, man, this is going to be beautiful, man. Chef's kiss. Now, let's get into the main event. So you had Orange Cassidy, the Best Friends, Dustin Rhodes. You got the Butcher, the Blade, Trent Seven, Kip Sabian. I love the interaction between Mark Henry and Danhausen and Orange. Like, I love that interaction. Trent Seven, was it the Butcher? He gave like a number, which it was funny because Chuck Taylor's like, "That's actually not a number because like that's too many numbers," and Trent Beretta's like, "Yeah, and you had letters too, so yeah, that doesn't make sense. Like, they don't use that anymore." So yeah, I thought that was pretty funny. But man, this match right away, It started off with the Battle of Trents. Then, not even 2 minutes into the match, it just breaks down. Everybody's brawling, and it's just boom, 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 flying all over. Then you get a certain point where you get the Bunny and Penelope Ford. They're at ringside, so they actually become, later on in the match, they actually become a big part of how this match finished. Then you got Dustin Rhodes getting a hot tag. I mean, he does a freaking the Dusty elbow. There's a point where he Trent Seven tries to splash on him, and he gets out the way, and Trent Seven splashes on Kip Sabian. Then this is where the match got funny, and I love this. So the Bunny comes into the ring, and she confronts Orange Cassidy. And mind you, the ref is at ringside. He's looking outside, trying to get order and everything. And Orange Cassidy looks at her, and he just drops on the floor. He just starts grabbing his abdomen and everything. He's like, oh, and the ref turns around, and he looks at her. He's like, oh, look, she's doing this. And as the ref turns around, he was being distracted by Penelope Ford. So Penelope Ford gets in the ring, and then Danhausen gets in the ring, and then he does the very thing that Orange Cassidy did in the crowd. Man, the crowd is laughing and cheering and everything, and it's just like, these guys are pulled off a lie, cheat, and steal from Eddie Guerrero in the most unexpected ways. That was freaking hilarious. So then the ref looks, and he's like, what's going on here? And he looks, and he throws out Penelope Ford and the Bunny, and then Kip Sabian gets in, and he punches Danhausen. Then that led to Dustin Rhodes executing a freaking beautiful Canadian Destroyer. Then you had Orange Cassidy. Later on at this point, you had Dustin Rhodes after he did the Canadian Destroyer. So he has Kip Sabian with his legs up on the middle rope. And, of course, he does his infamous kick. So the ref's like, no, you can't do that. Orange Cassidy, as Dustin Rhodes and the ref are arguing, he walks right past him, and he does these gentle kicks to Orange Cassidy, and he goes boom, 2, 3, and then when he does the ref stops him, and then Dustin Rhodes walks right behind them as they're arguing and kicks Sabian. Then that led to Dustin Rhodes getting the Bulldog for the win, 1, 2, 3. That was the match. I thought that was freaking hilarious. The last part of the match was hilarious and funny. The beginning part, it was kind of chaotic, hectic, and just like, okay. But once Penelope Ford and the Bunny got in the ring, that's when the match is like, it's weird. It's kind of like the match calmed down. And it's like, man, this is actually pretty funny. Like, this is pretty cool for a Friday night. It's like, all right, cool. But that was AEW Rampage. Man, overall, this was a fun show. Like I said, there was a few things that came into play from Dynamite and, of course, Final Battle and everything. Man, I think the only knock was I wish there was a little bit more aggression and just intensity in the Britt Baker Sky Blue match. Maybe that was by design to have something like that, but it did kind of like, but I enjoyed it and everything. I enjoyed the Sheeta coming out and confronting Jamie Hayter and everything. I'm really liking the Moxley Hangman Page feud. Man, I'm really interested to see where AEW goes in 2023 and how Rampage plays out. Again, it was reported by Wrestling Inc. that AEW is set to have some big changes. It could be the stage, the ring apron, presentation, graphics, what have you. So, really interested with that. Man, you got the Soraya thing. Man, Rampage, like, this is one of those shows that, and I know people always knock this show, oh, the ratings are bad. And I've gone over numerous times why that is the case. Again, I'm not going to go over it because there's certain people that aren't going to change their minds because they just feel a certain way about AEW. That's your prerogative. It is what it is. But, man, I'm really looking forward to it. Man, like I said, man, the Moxley Hangman Page feud I'm interested in. The Soraya video stating, all right, I got a plethora of talent that I can look, toward, and we'll be seeing you there. So you got that. the Jade Cargill Red Velvet tease of, ooh, are they gonna turn? Or is Layla Gray and Red Velvet gonna turn on Jade Cargill, or what's gonna happen there? So there was a lot of interesting things that transpired on this episode of Rampage. Little things, but again, it's a part of the quote unquote bigger plan of AEW. So I don't know. We'll see where this goes. I'm really looking forward to Dynamite next Wednesday. And man, pro wrestling is going to be fun going into 2020. That first week is going to be sweet. So, like I always say, man, enjoy pro wrestling, man. This is my review for the December 16th episode of AEW Rampage. Like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notifications so that you're notified when the House of Wrestling drops its latest content. Follow me, Dedrian180, on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. I'm also on the Hive because I believe they just did a update to fix a few bugs and stuff like that. So I'm also on the Hive at Dedrian180. Man, there's a lot of pro wrestling. Let's have fun. 2023 is looking to be even more unpredictable than 2022 with a lot of excitement and enthusiasm. So I'm looking forward to it. And man, let's just have fun. So that is my review for AEW Rampage December 16th. With that,